With Halloween around the corner, I thought to myself, what scares the community of Payday 2? Cloakers and dozers? Well, unless you have like less than 50 hours, there's not much scary about them. Maybe dealing with facts? Kind of, but I can't really make a video out of that. How about the event heists? Lab Rats terrifies everyone, but there's already tons of guides on that, and when you learn the jumps, there's actually nothing hard about the map. KPM-wise, it's one of the easiest. Oh, how about Safe House Nightmare? There's basically no guides on it, and according to Reddit, it's one of the hardest maps in the game. Well, Reddit has no idea what they're talking about 99% of the time anyway, so it's not like it's worth listening to this ranking.
Oh my god, Max! My god, look at this! Woo!
The fuck is that?
It's fucking hell! Oh my god!
Man,
Damn.
it's kind of sexy though. I kind of want to fuck the shit out of it.
The reason that Safe House Nightmare is a feared map is due to a lot of unique mechanics that it has, and due to that, it requires a different playstyle and unique builds altogether. Given the Payday community really struggles with being creative, people really struggle on this map. For example, almost every public Safe House Nightmare I join has a stoic player on it. Yes, stoic is the best deck in the game, but it's also the worst possible choice for Safe House Nightmare. You have no converts or hostages, so you aren't even going to keep your health up too well. And the enemies do low damage, so you can't flask heal effectively. Given I actually like the map, I might as well make a guide for it, including some builds you can use to take it down. As any good guide starts, go to your settings. Go to your video options and into advanced, where you'll find a color grading feature. This is in the game, and I'm sure that only like 1% of people know it's there, let alone use it. Anyway, set the filter to Payday 1 in traffic. There you go, I've given you the gift of vision. You don't need to do this. Personally, I'm too lazy to venture this far into the settings each time I do the map, but if you want to play optimally, then you should get this. You could of course also just use one of the night vision masks, but they're ugly and cramp my style. The map is divided into 5 major sections: the left wing, middle, right wing, vault, and top floor, which is connected to the main area with a staircase. When it comes to important information, it's worth mentioning the safes that are in the right wing. These safes don't actually have anything in them, but you could use them to distract enemies. However, in practice, these drills don't really do anything, so you might as well just ignore them. There's also cameras in the central area, which can be used to mark enemies, as cameras auto-mark specials, but this map is really small, it's not particularly useful. Not to mention that while using these cameras, you're completely vulnerable to the enemy spawns right behind you. This map is pretty known for its RNG, which can be divided into impactless and impactful effects. All the RNG activates only after you start the main vault drill, so you don't need to worry about it before then. There's a lot of impactless effects that I won't go over, but the ones that do have impacts are Tase on Jump, Exploding Pumpkins, Black Flashing, and no Cloakers. Tase on Jump is a super common one. You can easily test it before anything spawns, for the sake of awareness. If you don't, well, get ready for some silly downs. The Exploding Pumpkins are random spawns that appear, explode, and appear elsewhere. Unless it spawns next to you without your knowledge, these are easy to avoid. However, up close, these pack a punch that could kill you. The black flashing is notorious on this map, and I see a lot of players just restarting as soon as they see it. Yes, it can be extremely annoying, but it's not unplayable. The last is Cloakers not spawning. This is a strange RNG, but it's possible for Cloakers to just not spawn. This one seems to be really rare, but I can't find exact numbers for any given RNG on this map. I've also heard that it's possible for dozers to not spawn as an RNG, but I've never seen this personally. If someone knows how to dive into game files or something like that, let me know if this is a real thing or just some myth. The RNGs in this map are randomly combined, so you could get some easy runs, and you could get some really annoying ones. The biggest factor separating this map from the others is the enemies, of course. Unlike every other map in the game, Safe House Nightmare has only scripted spawns, those scripted spawns being Cloakers and Headless Dozers. The Cloakers are standard and found everywhere else, but these Headless Dozers are fairly unique. Since they don't have a head, they don't have a headshot multiplier for easy takedowns. Your only choice is body shots to their 12,000 health pool. With that out of the way, let me go over builds, and then some advice to actually beat the map. I'm sure you've noticed that there's an awful lot of points lying around in this build. That's because the builds I'll show you here are just frameworks, the bare minimum. Use your points on whatever you want here. You could get Inspire and Jack of all trades with medic bags. You could get full drill skills. You could even get Revenant if you really wanted to. The power of this build comes in the HRL, which can one-shot the Headless Dozers, along with whatever else is in the vicinity nearby. The R93 can one-shot Cloakers, and also has the most shots to reload time of all the 500s, so you'll be seeing it again later just for its practicality. ICTV Kingpin is generally a bad idea, but on this map, enemies do pretty low damage, 20 from Cloakers and 80 from Headless Dozers. This means you can keep yourself safe, but it also provides great abilities when repairing drills. This is the single best build for Safe House Nightmare, but it's also kinda dangerous to your team. The amount of times I've been killed in pubs with people using this build concept is really high, so if you're going to use it carefully. This is the second build to use. The goal of this build is single target DPS. The Aggers are the best in the game at this, so add some Zerk and pistol skills and you're good to go. A lot of people don't have access to the Igors, so you can substitute them for whatever really. Any high single target DPS weapon works. Parabellums, broomsticks, strikes, hell, switch to akimbo SMGs if you want to. Keep yourself in aim down sights for the high value target bonus, and you'll be dropping enemies pretty fast. The downside of this build is the perk deck.
What did he say?
Anarchist is sort of fragile here. Your armor value isn't very high, and while not doing too much damage per shot, the dozers are still carrying LMGs. Try to not expose yourself too much with this build, rather going for quick peeks or pushing enemies back with Bulletstorm. The 5.7 pistol also plays a big role here, allowing you to regenerate armor without being in danger. For whatever reason, Overkill decided that the walls on this map would be really thin, so you can actually just wallbang most spawn points from safety if you want to. Why did they do this? I don't know. Why does sitting in this tree break enemy targeting? It's just Overkill map design. Crossbow rogue time, but unironically. If you're thinking, isn't Hacker a better perk deck in every way? Yes, but not for this map. The types of enemies you face aren't very easy to take down, so healing and keeping your dodge high with Hacker is impractical. For that reason, Rogue is a more practical choice. The heavy crossbow has great single target damage, but it's just not enough to effectively take down dozers alone. For that reason, maximize crits and bring teammates. This build is reliant on RNG, as any rogue build is, really, in that you need at least one crit before a dozer is killable. The more people you have with this build, the more effective you'll be, and that trend will continue for the next couple builds. The pistol crossbow is just there for cloakers, as it has a faster reload than the heavy crossbow, while still one-shotting cloakers to the head. One thing I do want to point out is that most of the time, first aid kits are better for dodge builds. However, on this map, odds are you're just going to get cloaked back to low health again, so if you are going to bring health, bring doctor bags. Here's an unusual idea. Remember when the spoon was released and everyone was making funny memes like, "Me when I use sociopath and golden spoon melee. Just a spoonful." Or something stupid like that without realizing the reswing on it is too slow to actually get sociopath boosts. Well, Infiltrator can get these boosts. Infiltrator has a 7-second melee boost as opposed to 1, despite having the same description as Sociopath. That aside, the reason I'm using the spoon here is due to its high damage and very fast charge time. The next best choice is Kento's Tanto, and it's a 3.5 second charge as opposed to 2. Roughly 1 second of charge time for the first strike, and then 1 second for the second strike will kill a dozer. Past that, just chain together more strikes as long as they are within the time limit. Recall the R93 I said would make an appearance again. Here it is. Cloakers move kinda fast, so you might end up missing them with your melee and having it reset to the first strike. Better to just shoot them in the face than take your chances. The secondary really doesn't matter, so just use whatever. Could go for a pistol crossbow again. Also, you really have to be careful to not overextend with this build. Infiltrator only gives you resistance to take a couple shots from dozers, roughly 5 depending on how much is targeting you. Being too close to cloakers is also a risky idea, so try to let enemies come to you and push only when you need to. This build is very odd, but it requires no DLCs, so just go with it. First thing you need to do is Zerk. Drop a grenade and fully charge your bow. Wait for the grenade to explode and then shoot yourself. Do this for each grenade, and there you go. Probably the least practical method of high Zerk that exists. Next, get your C4. You need to set these up on enemy spawn points, as it will play a big role later. This really depends on how many people you have using the build, as your C4 count is limited to that. But if I were to give the bare essentials of where to place the C4, use these spots. Hopefully you can triangulate where I place those C4s. I did brighten the images a little bit, and you can also use the vault as a reference. With that setup complete, get into this room and get ready for the safest strat of all time. Remember how I mentioned that you can wallbang just about everything on this map? Well, that's the goal of this build. To shoot everything from behind your wall of safety. Try to not hit the C4 you place, as it gets rid of your sight. I hope you have strong fingers with a lot of endurance, because the 5.7 can actually shoot really fast. The 5.7 will also run out of ammo pretty quick, so you'll need to refill often. But before you do that, hit yourself with the explosive bow to get your unseen strike. That said, this build is pretty straightforward. Well, those are your builds, or I guess build concepts. These are really just to show off some of what's possible. There's a lot more options I could go over, but 5 is a nice number, so yeah. Hopefully I can get your gears turning regarding how you approach this map build-wise, but there's still some more stuff to go over. Now, how do you actually put this map into motion? Well, you can make it really easy with an auto-restart drill, though that does take some luck. Wait for the drill to jam and see if it self-repairs within 20 seconds. It's a permanent auto-restart drill that you don't need to worry about for the rest of the game. This is optional, as you could repair the drill manually, which is why I didn't have it as required skills in the builds. However, if you don't have a lot of players with you, this is a fairly simple way to decrease the map's difficulty with just a bit of RNG. Other than that, repairing the drill will require caution, and for someone to defend you. It's not worth dying by the drill to repair it. Custody on this map is permanent, there are no ways for the assault to end, and the random civs that appear can't be tied down for Stockholm Syndrome. That's a nice transition to the next point. The best way to avoid custodying on this map is to stick with your team. This might sound obvious, but seriously, don't get separated. Losing players on this map is a big hit to your chances. You should also stay predominantly in this left wing area. It's the easiest to defend, and you can run back for safety if needed. Though if you really want to defend somewhere else, you can. Just make sure that your team is either with you or you let them know. Because if you get stuck there alone, well... Another tip has to do with recognizing where enemies are. Since every spawn on this map is scripted, enemies aren't constantly spawning in. Dozers always spawn with a flash at their feet, and you can see the white effect along the walls and ceilings, as well as the audio to know where they spawned. If possible, it's best to kill those enemies before they start to pile up. My safe house nightmare just tends to spawn more enemies, and I'm not sure why. That's why none of the footage that I have really shows that spawn camping happening. The last bit of advice I have is regarding bag moving. You might be tempted to just grab a bag and run for the escape, but this isn't usually a safe option. Instead, throw the bags in this direction, base in the left wing, and then keep moving to the escape. Also, be careful when throwing bags up the stairs, as the staircase doesn't actually interact with the bags for some reason, so you'll need to retrieve them. Well, that's all you need to beat Safe House Nightmare, but before I end, I guess I'll go over some trivia or something. For those who are fairly new to the game, you might not know that the Safe House Nightmare takes place in the old safe house. This safe house was replaced during the Hoxton housewarming event. Despite being the same map, most of it is actually not there, with the only remaining parts being the lockpicking and safe cracking guides, as well as the vault, which just shows your money. If you hear crying noises in the map, it's actually the witch from Left 4 Dead. You can even see the witch on this map, as collecting the baby masks will randomly summon the witch to instant down you. This isn't the only map you can find the witch on, but it's the one you're most likely to interact with it. Despite saying this heist gives no experience, it actually does. Why? I don't know. Those are interesting bits of trivia that I know about the map. There's more, but it's not very exciting. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got.